Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of Super Rugby Pacific, and this one taking place between the Western Force and the Hurricanes. Now, the way that the table currently sits, this is where it was before that last game between the Chiefs and the Highlanders. We've just seen a massive victory for the Chiefs, which puts them right up to top of the table, but it means that the Highlanders, for now, just at this very point in time, their position as well as the Blues, it is not relevant to this match. The Hurricanes, if they win this game, they move into the top six. If the Force win it, they move that little bit closer to the top four. So there is a lot to play for. It is 16 kilometers of wind and 18 degrees Celsius for this game at HBF Park. Looks like a nice evening for a game of rugby. And like I said, it is a very important one for these two sides. The Force need this victory. The Hurricanes, it is crucial that they get the win here too. Looking through at the lineups. First of all, for the Force, someone who has been absolutely outstanding this season has been Carlo Tizzano. He's right up there in terms of the leading try scorers. Alongside him, Ikwasi in that number 8 jersey, that physicality that they're going to have to bring to this game with the loose forward trio of Shields, Karifi and Lakai across from them here. Jeremy Williams and Darcy Swain in the locking duo. And then in that front row, Brendan Payanga and Mosa. The lineout's also going to be crucial for the Western Force. BM Donaldson alongside Nick White in the 19 combo. Bailey Quenzel out on one wing. Harry Potter out on the other with Greeley at number 15. So overall, a very strong lineup here for the Western Force. For the Hurricanes, they made a few changes compared to what we did see in their last contest. Xavier Numia, Safwa Moore, and Tyrell Lomax will be the front row. The lineouts were disappointing, to say the least, in the last game for the Hurricanes. Safwa Moore was struggling to get anywhere near straight. A lot of them were getting stolen. So it's going to be a tricky one here for the Hurricanes, just to try and build that confidence at line-out time and start getting something moving forward. Caleb Delaney and Isaiah Walker-Leawiri in that in the locking duo, and then of course the loose forward trio that I did mention just before. Cam Roygar plays 9, but Ruben Love moves into that number 10 jersey. That is so that Callum Harkin can have the chance at 15. And then in the midfield, Peter Umanga Jensen alongside Balin Sullivan with Fi'i Finia Nofo out on one wing and Natunani Punivai out on the other. Looking through at the recent form for the Hurricanes, they had that close loss to the Blues. They had that close loss to the Crusaders. These are the type of contests that could be make or break for them in terms of making it through to the top 6. They need to start closing out games. The benefit that they've had is even with a few losses, they have got themselves bonus points. They received 1 for both of those contests. They have lost their last 2 games. Before then, they were on a bit of a streak, beating the Highlanders as well as the Tars with a bye in between. The Force, their last contest, they were able to get themselves the big win over the Highlanders. They did have the week off last week for their bye week, and now they're up against the Canes. The Hurricanes have got quite the hard finish to their season. They have to get, theoretically, I would say 4 victories from their remaining games, 3 of which are going to be played in Australia up against the up against the Reds, the Brumbies, and also the Force. Here too, we've got Chad in the chat. Say g'day, welcome in, mate. If you are doing well, golden point win for the Wires, 50-metre kick. Says Highlanders will win Super Rugby. And also we reckon that maybe Hurricanes will blow today, and Western Force will be forceful again, says Ruth. And there as well. But Ruben Love in that 10 jersey, like I mentioned, something that maybe no one really anticipated, but I was battling with Will Jordan last week in that number 15 jersey. Wasn't really winning that battle either, so going with that switch. Just showing Harry Potter. There's a lot of strapping on these guys as they make their way out onto the field. Of course, it's been an extremely, injury-ridden season for a lot of teams. Darcy Swain, he's got the strapping on the thighs as well as a big bandage on the knee. But now, start of this match very close. Do let me know, of course, your score predictions for this contest, ladies and gentlemen. They're just showing Nick, champion, Chris Pigney, sitting currently second in the overall tackles made. All right, we will go like this, and we will go like this too. Here we go. So, looking at it at the moment, just finding the odds, but I believe one of these ones actually does have it. There we go. The odds at the moment. The Force come in as slight underdogs, but at home for this game, it is a possibility. Although the last big performance from the Hurricanes was up against the Waratahs, being able to beat them comfortably. They will be kicking off from left to right. And they are now underway. High again, says Chad. Our Warriors had a good one today, 20 points to 18 in Golden Point, says Sean there. So yeah, they're winning a lot of games this year, the Warriors, at the moment. So hopefully they can continue that as it moves on throughout the season. Nick White inside of his 22 does manage to put that one into touch. And we will now get to see that early line-out of Asafua Moa. And like I mentioned, up against the Crusaders, it was under all sorts of pressure. Do you think neutral referees would work in Super Rugby? It's not Kiwi or Aussie refs. It would be an option, but I do also think that, like, the cost of having neutral referees, I would assume, is relatively high. But yeah, I think that the refereeing in general, whether the referee's been from Australia or New Zealand, has been a little bit below par this year already, unfortunately. And it sounds like it's the same in the URC currently too. So yeah, it might just be the extensive law book and the amount of interpretation that can be made. But currently the Hurricanes sitting 40 metres out from the Forces line. This inside ball from Brad Shields goes off to Asafua Moa, who will win. Well, the favourites are the Hurricanes, but the Western Force at home haven't been going too badly this year. The Hurricanes kick some ass. Says Patrick and let's go Hurricanes. Says Blues Nate. Nick White's mustache is good, but not as impressive as yours. I'd say Nick White's is surely better than myself. He's got that Nigel Thornberry look about him. That's going to be knocked on by Duplessis Krefi, just not able to take it cleanly. Natonani Punivai also knocking the ball on, but now opportunity for Matt Greeley. Passes it across to Hamish Stewart, tackle 40 metres from the Force line. Nick White back across to the left-hand side, finds Darcy Swain. There's an advantage over for the knock-on, which does mean Nick White will now send this one to the sky again. And clash of the Titan mustaches, says Ruth. Towards the sideline, all left alone by Ruben Love. Thought it was going into touch, but it stays in the field of play. Awkward bouncing ball, but the Canes are able to get it. Up the Canes, says Chad. Now back across to the left-hand side, Xavier Numia. Now Roygard. Being told to use it again by Damon Murphy, who doesn't normally mess around with too much extra time for the Nines to be able to kick that ball. Nicely taken by Donaldson, goes back across to the right-hand side to Matt Greeley, gets through one tackle attempt of Caleb Delaney. At the moment, this game being mainly played inside of that middle 20 of the field. Where's Markia at the moment? Markia? Who is Markia? But now, not quite able to take that one cleanly for Ruben Love. Does end up knocking it on. And the Western Force again will go for a little chip in behind. Love has to get back there, but it is bouncing towards the sideline. And Ruben Love just decides to run this ball into touch. He felt he was under a lot of pressure from C.O. Tompkinson as well. Jordan playing, says Chad. He is not for this match, no. Fun fact, during that match when Will Jordan was playing, no one asked if Will Jordan was playing. Big contact between Harry Potter and Peter Umunga Jensen, but the Force now attacking from inside of the Hurricanes 22. Back off to the right. Attack and run forward from Marley Pierce. Where's Marika Kurumbeti? Okay, I get you. I think he's still in Japan, isn't he? That's going to be the knock-on there from the Western Force. Nick Berry goes over to the ref. He's not happy about the decision, but it does mean that the scrum will be given. The Hurricanes 10 metres out from their line. No, we don't want French or Pommy refs ruining our game, says Patrick. Okay, they're actually just saying that Brandon Paianga-Mosa actually didn't start in this game. I have a feeling this one could be a close one, says NZ Riot. I think both of these sides have a lot of ability to score tries. It might just take a little bit longer for them to be able to fire up. Apart from Tom Selleck from Magnum PI, do you think anyone else can pull off a mustache? I mean, for Nick White, yes, he gets a lot of stick about his mustache, but it doesn't not suit him, if that makes sense. Like, he has got a face that matches that stash, which I feel like, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. I feel like I mean it as a compliment. In terms of big mustaches, I can't think of too many other men who have gone with those big stashes in the past. That one's going to go into touch. The penalty at scrum time was awarded to the Hurricanes, so they will be able to kick it out again. Kiwi and Aussie referees ruin our games. Yeah, front row collapsing. That one going against Marley Pearce this time. Ruben Love, due to him playing in that number 10 jersey, will have most of the kicking responsibilities throughout this match, I believe. See there, Brad Shields, the veteran, just looking over at the ref, and that's normally a sign that he feels like something was maybe a penalty in there. Let's go the Hurricanes 50-point win. Says Draper was the best Super Rugby team 2025. I think it's between the Chiefs and the Crusaders. Like, they've both had their shocking games. He looks like an old-fashioned cop. Says Patrick. He does a bit, doesn't he? He's got that, like you pull you over, but it would be a wide brim, you know, one of those like state troopers in America. Give him some tinted lenses, and I feel like he's got a role as an actor in the future. Nice offload there from Peter Luckeye. Finds Balin Sullivan around the halfway line. Almost ended up getting himself in a bit of trouble there. Roy Guard goes for the kick in behind. Looks like we'll pull up just short of the Western Force goal line. And Kiwi Rob says Demon, and Nick White looks like an Anzac throwback from the Gallipoli landings with his tash. And Peaky Blinder vibe says zero connection. And Warriors won 20 points to 18. Yeah, golden point win for the Tars by the sound of it. Or sorry, from the Wars rather than the Tars. Tars were defeated by the Fijian draw. Looks like Peter Umaga Jensen just getting his eyeball cleaned out. Either a finger's got in there or something, but he doesn't look too flash at the moment, trying to blink through it. And we have got there, it looks like he wants to break free. How about break the line? Says Mr. All in and up the Tigers, says Chad. How bad do you think Scotland gets beaten later on by England? Says Kiwi Rob. Are we talking, I assume that's Women's Six Nations, is it? Yeah, it was just Carlo Tazzano tried to make that tackle, and I think he might have connected relatively high in it, but a Safwa more. Ready to throw this ball in, just taking his time, goes to the back, and it's well claimed by Delaney. Roygard back across to Love, and finds Larkai. Tackled by Carlo Tazzano again. That man has been extremely busy throughout this year, scoring tries for fun, making a lot of tackles, keeping the force in that top six. Roygard across to Lomax again. Hurricanes just slowly trying to build into this contest. Larkai almost went through. Pick and go. Oh, is that deliberate from Harry Potter? He certainly got a hand to it. They may just call it as a knock on. Now we have got there the Tars and the Wars. The same thing, wins now and then. Says Drape. But it's going to be another scrum feed after the knock-on from Harry Potter. This will be a good position on the field. So the Black Ferns are behind Canada in the world rankings. Going to be more tiers in the World Cup this year. Says Demon. Yeah, that World Cup's going to be competitive. I think that the big question is, will anyone beat England? And if they do, you know, there's probably 3 or 4 sides that feel like they've got a decent shot. But I think that English are the big one to try and get through. Right. Crowd are booing about something. I'm not too sure what. Is it the Harry Potter? Well, depends on how you look at it. Because he did have the name, I believe, just as the books were coming out. His parents hadn't read the books or anything, so I guess you could say he's Harry Potter 2.0, but he certainly can do some great things on the field. Don't know if he owns a broomstick. I'm sure he's got a few gag gifts to do with his name throughout his lifetime. Now we have got the rankings don't matter till after the World Cup, and also, of course, beforehand when they're doing the draw and whatnot, the rankings do come into it. Now 9 minutes, and France could not. New Zealand, no Wayne Smith. Save them this time, says Demon. Scrum just taking a little bit of extra time to get all set and ready to go. We've gone 10 minutes without any points. Both sides have been relatively evenly matched. We haven't really seen any massive breakaways that have looked too dangerous, but slow build-up in this match. Now, big push there from the Hurricanes. Roygard going off to Ruben Love, who plays first receiver again. Balin Sullivan off to the right. Love decides to go for a little kick in behind and does manage to find touch with it. So the Force will have the line-out throw about 10 metres out from their line. Where does Whakatawa rank in the AB's halfback order? I'd probably have him about 4, maybe 5 at the moment in terms of overalls. Maybe 6. My rankings or Scott Robertson's? Because Scott Robertson's probably got him about 7 at the moment, unfortunately. Now Nick White goes back to Ben Donaldson, who won the Chiefs game. The Chiefs won by quite the substantial margin, winning that match 46 points to 10. So, yeah, not exactly the game that the Landers would have been after, but still plenty of room for improvement, and they're still close enough to the top 6 that couple wins near the end of the season, like if they can somehow pull off the upset up against the Crusaders next week, damn, I'd say he's third pick. Says Mr. Orlin. Yeah, it just depends on what Robertson's real game plan is, because I'd say that Roygaard's up there, and then once again, if Robertson's going with, like, who's been in the All Black environment last year, you know, someone like a Hotham might go in because of that Crusaders connection. We might see Ratama in there again. Nice offload on the outside. Nofo, they try the ankle tap on him, but he breaks straight through and scores the try just like that. How was Damo playing? He certainly was, and he was playing back in the position that he should have been for that game up against the Waratahs. In that number 10 jersey, with Jacob off the bench and Stevenson at 15. This is the table, but I will mention the Crusaders currently in second, and the Chiefs are in first with 32 points after their bonus point win over the Highlanders. We have got, I believe our boys are tied from 2021-24 seasons, quarter, and this season Blues be lucky to make the top 6. So here's Blues, Nate. And up the cane, says Chad. And there too, but good power shown from Fihi Nofo, just going pretty much straight over the top of Ben Donaldson. There's an electric finish for the Hurricanes there. Callum Harkin kicking off the tee, and he has missed it away to the right-hand side. We'll keep the score sitting at 5-0 in favour of the Canes. I've got there that pass look forward. As in actually forward, or like you said, the Harvey Will Jordan pass was forward. But Fia Norfo, very nicely to skip around the outside. Reds is at 4. Says Mr. Orlin. So yeah, like I said, that was the table before the Chiefs match up against the Crusaders, up against the Highlanders. Too many of the Hurricanes have been ruthlessly poached, actually forward. So are you saying that one for Will Jordan and Arvili wasn't for Kiwi Rob? Are you saying you lied to us? Benetton have surprised me this season. Still underperforming but decent. Yeah, I've actually decided to do that game as well. Initially, we were going to be missing it so that I could have a bit of a tea break and whatnot in between, but I've scheduled it. It's going to be the match taking place pretty much straight afterwards. So be sure to stick around for that one. I saw TJ Perenara at my dad's rugby. Now, cross kick coming from Greeley. Good height on. It almost went into touch for C.O. Tompkinson, and in fact, he's taken the risk by trying to offload it back in, but they will now go back for the original penalty. I'm going to Scrumpy Jack Pub for English breakfast up the road. I'm listening to Hamish while I'm walking there. Here's Ruth. And I say that pass was super backwards. And T sounds fancy. It's not, though. Like, it was just going to be hot chips. I was going to have enough time to cook them in between. But now with the other matches and adding Lions Benetton, I'll probably just have toast, I would say. Did you see Hoskins Sadudu pass for the Blues? Yeah, very impressive one for Sadudu. This does not look good at the moment for, I think that is Ikuasi, who is staying down with some sort of leg injury here. I wasn't talking about that pass. We were talking about this game, Hamish. Says Kiwi Rob. I know, but you said actually forward, which would refer to the fact that your decision in the Crusaders one was not forward. We have good there. Come on, Canes. Let's go, Ruben. Says John, and Chiefs are the only team with a points differential of 3 figures. Says Novmum. And we have got there, nice Novmum up to Chiefs. Says Blues Nate there too. But as we all know from last year as well, points differential when you get through to the finals playoff games means absolutely nothing, because all the differential that matters is what the end score is in the playoffs. That is going to be a try to the Western Force. Just a nice breaking run through. and does score it straight between the posts. It was just really nicely done for Bailey Quinzel on the inside. It was his 9th of his career. And just a stock standard, just a pass on the inside. Nick White breaks away and then just stock standard. I don't know how the Hurricanes had that big of a gap in their defensive line 10 metres out, but the Western Force certainly saw it, and they will now take the lead in this contest. It'd be so good if they selected the teams like State of Origin style. Says Patrick, we have one North versus South game here in New Zealand, and everyone seemed to love it, and they never did it again. So I don't know why. I think Aussie Rugby dropped Rebels because they were sick of not having championships. Says Kiwi Rob, that was not really the reasoning behind it. There was a bit more to it than that. But the Rebels actually having their best ever finish in their last season. So I guess at least you could say they went off on a bit of a high. Blues to miss out on the playoffs. It's going to be tricky for them, but they've still got plenty of games that they should be able to win. Keyword there is should. But I think they will still make it. No, Kiwi Rob, they're broke. Blues, that's more so what it is. Oh, that's interesting. Chiefs points differential was 104. If you add points differential of all the other teams as 104 minus, says Novmum. It is interesting. Once again, the Chiefs had to make sure that they win their playoff games. Because, that's the thing. If they were to lose to the Crusaders, right, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but you just never know, do you? And you look at the way that the table sits theoretically. It could be someone, let's just say the Hurricanes somehow win this game. They're currently down. Or the Blues start to move up the table. We could see the Crusaders in first, Chiefs in second, and then if both of those sides were to lose their playoff games, the Crusaders would go through on the technicality. But then the same can be said the other way around. Of course, the highest ranked loser does still go through to the next stage. Be one of the only situations around the world that a losing playoff finalist can actually still go on to win, at least in the rugby union side of things. No, it was Aussie Rugby that didn't want 5 teams, says Kiwi Rob. No, they were also very broke. They had no money. They lost, I think, all of their major backers, or at least they wanted a new one and it fell through, so then they didn't have it. South Island Lamb or North Island. I've only had the South Island, so can't comment on the North. The Chiefs are in top spot now, bruv, says Smash Proof, which is why I said about that Chiefs versus Crusaders game. Said in theory, if one of them was to win, and then said about the other as well. Don't panic, we know what the table sits like. Sitting 10 metres out from the line, Callum Harkin. Oh, counter ruck there coming from the Force, but they will end up giving away the penalty. Ruben Love comes up, he's asking for the penalty, but the ref has already got the advantage. I don't know what's happened with Ruben Love the last 2 weeks, but he seems to be very temper-orientated in his games. Will Jordan, I don't know whether or not he got in his head last week, but something about it made him very fired up and tried to take out Will's legs. South Island Land Police, says Drape. And we have got there, I think we should go back to a super round where all the games are played in one stadium, as long as it's not in Melbourne, because it was pretty sad seeing those 5,000 attendance games for big matchups. One's going to be put into touch by the Hurricanes. Only about 5 metres out. They kept asking the boards for money. They said no. Says Blues NATO, the bash on Will Jordan. Says Chad. Visits per try. 2.82. I wish your stat table was outdated, which is what I said at the start. I said that was up to date up until just before that Chiefs versus the Highlanders game. I should have probably wrote it on the screen as well, just for anyone who wasn't listening. But 19 minutes in at the moment, 7 points to 5 at this current point in time. Thanks, brother, for your hard work. It's a different point for this year. But all the teams will respect teams as important, supporting from Wellington. Says PT. Yeah, I mean, the table so far this season has had so many ups and downs. We see Moana, they've pulled off a couple big wins, but they're still sitting near the bottom of the bunch. But, yeah, it's just, there's been a few upsets. In fact, it's normally the same round that we are seeing the updates. Have a small Kit Kat breaks. Says Blues Nate. And there as well. We've got 3 matches of the URC coming back to back to back. Will the Blues make top 6? I still think that they can. But, they have to start winning. It sounds harsh, but that game up against the Crusaders, their second half, I think was the best second half we've seen from the Blues almost this year. In terms of the way they were able to dominate territory, push the Crusaders back, making it really uncomfortable for them. But then they let it slip through their fingers with that last-minute penalty at the scrum time. They just need to start winning those close games. And I feel like the Hurricanes, actually, you could say the same mentality for them. It's a massive push there, but the Force will get themselves the penalty. Oh, the Hurricanes thought that they had the penalty, but it is in fact the Western Force will have the ball. Where do they say to sit on the table? They are currently in second. They have the same amount of points as the Chiefs, but the points differential is in favour of the Chiefs after that last game up against the Highlanders. The legend himself, greetings my friend, hope you've been well, and no Blues will not make the top six. As a matter of fact, they're not going to be a team soon. And we have got their lol from Drape and have a small Kit Kat break. But now it's going to be another line out. Possession currently sitting at 59% in favour of the Hurricanes, not far off. So here's Mr. All-In. Now big driving shot from a Safwa Moore. Now Nick White. Going for the kick in behind. And does go into touch. That one's going to be about maybe 45 metres out from the line. They're saying Carlo Tazzano there. He decided to have a carry and got smashed by a Safwa Moore. Was lining him up early. Safwa Moore with the line out goes to Isaiah Walker Leowiri. Roigard cross to Love Larkai. That seems to be the same combo that they're going with pretty much every time off the line out. Roigard goes to a Safwa Moore, gets through the tackle attempt of Ekwasi, who I'm quite surprised is continuing after how long he stayed down with a bit of an injury. Roigard now with a snipe round the side, going off to Duplessis. Karefi Tazzano gets a shot of his own in and manages to get the turnover in the breakdown as well. Now Robertson going off to Jeremy Williams. This game has been flying by at the moment, already 22 minutes down. Next game that we are covering will be taking place in the very near future between the Lions and Benetton. So anyone who's keen on that one, be sure to stick around. Nice take from Ruben Love under the high ball, but he is hit hard. Tackle by the Force blindside flanker. Auckland FC have one hand on the Premier's plate. Says Kiwi Rob. And we need team from Rangitoto Island. Says Drape. So I walk a Leowiri just with the hit up so that Roigard can then roll it back. Go for the kick of his own. All well watched by Ben Donaldson. He will return fire with a kick. At the moment, we're playing a little bit of force back. Hurricanes inside of their 22. Ruben Love takes it up to the 22-metre line. Looks for the big kick downfield. Nicely taken. The Force do decide to take it quickly. I think they realise that they would have lost their territory battle. Harry Potter goes down the middle. Claimed by Love again. In fact, this time it's Callum Harkin. Waiting for this one. Inside the 22. Greeley will take it. He kicks it downfield. At the moment, she's just an aerial battle, but that one may be a little bit too big from Greeley. Doesn't quite roll dead. Roigard, rather than forcing it down, will go for the kick and does put it into touch. About 10 kicks in a row between those two sides. Okay, there. No one lives in Rangitoto. Says, no, moment greetings, buddy Sebastian. Doing good, thank you. How about you? Enjoying your chocolates? Happy Easter, Sip. Says Blues Nate. But that all came from a Carlo Tazzano turnover that happened what felt like an eternity ago. Now Tazzano going off to the left-hand side for Ekwasi. Sitting about 30 metres out from the line now. The Western Force, Jeremy Williams, goes across to Donaldson. Did the show and go. Now Nick White looks to the short side off to Jeremy Williams, tackled by Sullivan. Another big run from Marley. Pierce. Off to the right. Tazzano. Getting just that little bit closer, but Peter Lakai locked over the ball and does win the penalty for the Hurricanes. Apart from cricket and rugby, what other sports do you watch? I assume by rugby you're saying like rugby sevens, rugby league, all tied in to the one category. honestly, like, not a huge amount, just because normally through the weekend it pretty much takes up all the time. Like, every once in a while I might watch a game of football or something, or maybe, have a look at a couple other bits and bobs, but yeah, nothing substantial enough. Here is the channel transmission, says HDY. So if you want to watch the actual game, it is on Sky Sport 1 here in New Zealand. In Australia, it's on Stan Sport. Elsewhere, it's a little bit tricky to be able to find, but the Super Rugby website has a where to watch tab where you can catch the action. Now, Duplessis Karifi going off to Peter Umang and Jensen, currently 30 metres out from their own line. Both sides tackling at around that 85% rate. The other Sullivan, is that a good game last night? Says Patrick, so that is, of course, Zahn Sullivan. Trying to get that number 15 jersey. Donaldson knocks it back, then knocked on by Natunani Punivai. Looks like, yep, they are going to call it. I guess maybe sat there for a bit, looking at his touch judge. Oh, I see the Wales won just. I watched some lacrosse, says Colossus. I don't even know if they show lacrosse here in New Zealand. So if there's somewhere on YouTube to watch it, I possibly could. Good evening, Kiwi Robin Hamish. Says James Martin. Yeah, just knocked backwards by Donalds. Oh. I don't think there was a knock-on from Natunani Punivai. From that other angle, it was actually hit down by Donaldson, who was already off his feet. So you could argue that he played the ball on the ground. What happened with the Panthers? Says Kiwi Rob, they had a lot of guys leave, and they've gone downhill throughout the season. I love beach volleyball, especially the men's and their Speedos. Says Drape. And I thought I was the only one. Sebastian, kids going for it. Happy Easter, enjoy. There's Blues Nate there too. But 26 minutes through this match, and we're going to have another scrum reset. I said Angus maybe, but it is actually Angus Gardner. Is it? Who is this ref? It's either Angus Gardner or Angus... Wait, no, I might have said the exact wrong name there. We'll have to have a look. It's very poor from us. We normally don't do too badly with the referees. It's not Angus Gardner, no. Why can I not remember this referee's name? I feel like it's going to come to me any second. Damon Murphy, there we go. It's hit the brain cell finally. Our favourite New Zealand chocolate. See, a dairy milk goes all right, just a Cadbury stock standard dairy milk. Whittaker's normally gets highly rated here in New Zealand, although I don't think they do a lot of Easter eggs and whatnot. But yeah, I'd say it's probably one of those two. Now going off to the left-hand side, Harry Potter. And now, Nick White across to Hamish Stewart. At the moment, the Force are doing very well with their ball retention. They just trying to tire out this Hurricane side. I was thinking of a holiday back to my homeland of Central Auckland. OMG, the cost of a rental car. I need to lie down after that. Has it already started? It certainly has. Currently 27 minutes in. 5 points to 7. Are you doing both games on Anzac night? Is that that's going to be knocked on there by Western Force. Trying to kick that one into touch was Roygar, but he really didn't have a lot of space to be able to work with. Which games are we looking at? Friday, I believe so. Reds versus Blues and then Chiefs versus Force, isn't it? So I think we will be doing both of those ones. How do I watch it? Sky Sport in New Zealand, Stan Sport in Australia. Or if you're outside of those regions, you probably will have to go on the Super Rugby website to see your where to watch options. Badminton is the most boring game I've ever watched. It's quite fun to play though. I used to not go too badly at badminton. We went to a school tournament, which was interesting. As a live anywhere, so Sky Sport, Stan Sport. The two main options. The other way around though, Hamish, that is true. Just listing them both though. I don't think it was necessary for the correction. I was going to say if it was Angus, our buddy Gardner, Hurricanes will be up by 20. Says Drape. And coming the forward, says Scotty's encounters there as well. Now, going to be a chance here for the scrum. Have you ever been to a World Tour badminton tournament? Says James. Now Roygaard. Will put the ball in. Hurricanes more than likely just looking for an exit here. Unless they can get themselves this scrum penalty. That scrum has not gone too straight at all. And Damon Murphy says we'll do it again. Matches today have been absolutely flying by. We've had 30 minutes of action pretty much in 30 minutes. No TMO involved in that last contest either. Have you come to Australia before? I have, yes. I think 3 times? Maybe 4 times. Been to Australia. In your opinion, who was the best player out of Whanganui? I might need a few names thrown at me in terms of, like, if you give me your top 5, I'll give you who I think is the best, just because I don't know specifically who's come out of the region. Chicken soup with pumpkin and potatoes for tea. Winter is here, says Drape. Now another scrum. Evenly contested, although this time the Hurricanes do get themselves the penalty advantage. Larkai goes across to Roigard. Tries to skip past to Callum Harkin, who will go up the middle by himself. Beautiful step there. I'm sure that would have to be advantage over. They made 45 metres in the process there, the Hurricanes. Just watch all the AVS Northern Rugby fans tuning in later for the streams, says Sebastian. And Bill Osborne came from there, says Patrick. Now Roigard, cross to the right-hand side to Isaiah Walker, Leo Whitty. Ruben Love goes for the kick down the middle of the field, gives possession straight back to the Western Force. Not sure if that was the best choice, as he will now have to retreat. Have a kick from inside of his own 22. In fact, will run it out first, then kicks it straight into the hands of the Western Force. I'm confused at the kicking of Ruben Love at the moment. This one, Callum Harkin inside of his 22. He will look for the sideline and does manage to put it out with a very nice kick. It's made tomorrow from 11 a.m. New Zealand time. So I can't watch it, says Pink. Not if you haven't got Sky Sport or Stan Sport, unfortunately. Those are the 2 main broadcasters. I don't think there's many free-to-air options around the world for Super Rugby, sadly. Rental prices for vehicle in Auckland too much, says Blues Nate. How does one get mod status, Ham? We haven't actually added a new mod for probably like a year, to be honest. Normally it's just the ones who are regulars in the chat, and once the chat gets a little bit too out of control for the current moderators to handle, we normally would look at expanding. And Solid T, here's Mr. All-In in there as well. Currently 9 minutes left in this first half. Just the 2 points separating them. So it does seem like a round of close first halves, as even the Chiefs versus Highlanders game was separated by 3 points. Blues versus Crusaders, relatively close too. It's going to be thrown in. Nick White, on back across to Ben Donaldson, going for the little chip in behind. Nicely taken by Balin Sullivan. It's free streaming, says James Speed. Whereabouts is it being shown? Do let me know, because of course, you know, if you got a VPN and you can set yourself to a certain location to be able to watch the games, then it is a very good option, and sometimes actually cheaper than getting the broadcasting fees paid. Kiwi Lads got you covered by the minutes, every minutes. Waisaki Naholo, Stephen Petafetta, Andy Hayden, Michael Fitzgerald, and Brett Cameron. I mean, Waisaki Naholo, he ended up getting a whole chant after him, which is something that not many players do get. So I feel like, you know, he was pretty solid. Stephen Petafetta's had some good moments for the Blues throughout the years. That's going to be another knock-on from the Hurricanes. Both of these sides are struggling to hang on to the ball at the moment. I used to have Sky, but what a rip-off. Says Patrick, yeah, see, if I didn't have Sky, I wouldn't be able to do these streams, so I just pretty much, like, have to get it. Do you prefer green or gold kiwi fruit ham? I haven't had a kiwi fruit in probably about a decade. I used to be a fan of the green ones when they were a little bit sweeter, so probably, to be fair, the gold kiwi fruit probably would have done the job. And then all the audience are rocking the chats. The question about kiwi fruit, though, that I have is, do you guys eat the skin of the kiwi fruit or do you just eat the middle? Because, you know, it seems to be a mixed opinion about that one. The Force have had 2 retained kicks at the moment they have just shown. 7 minutes remaining in this first 40 minutes, and it's gone down to the front row again, so the Force will get themselves the penalty. And Sunday tomorrow, hell yeah, meat time. Says Mr. All-In, no, I eat the middle. I like sweet kiwi fruit and also the gold kiwis. I like Balin Sullivan and the All Blacks. And we have got there 3 people in the pub long Easter weekend. People away on holiday, and I keep my kiwi fruits at the supermarket, says Sebastian. Probably be a bit of a concern if you did eat the skin there. Just eat the skin off it in the supermarket, put it back. Someone else goes, oh, they're doing skinless kiwi fruit now. I don't know how that would work. It'd be quite tricky to do, I would think. And a Sunday feeds are the best. So here's Drape. See, I'm excited for after the Munster versus Bulls game. It'll be about 6:30 a.m. So then it's an excuse to start having some breakfast. So I might go for some hash browns, some sausages, something like that. Maybe a couple eggs. Still about 8.5 hours away from that though. And until then, we've got about 7 hours of streaming. So if you guys are new, be sure to hit that subscribe. And also be sure to stick around for the URC. It is free to air on New Zealand TV for TVNZ. Nice break and run from Carlo Tizzano for the Western Force. Gets back up to his feet, trying to go again. Only about 5 metres out for a line. Ferdinand Norfolk got over the ball. Does he get the turnover for the Hurricanes? Looks like Nick White has somehow managed to hang on to that one. Supermarket Kiwi Fruit Peeler, profession of the future, says Sebastian. That would be such a concerning sight. Like, what do you do if you see a bloke eating the skin off the kiwi fruit in the supermarket and then he just walks off? Like, you'd have to tell someone, wouldn't you? Who do you personally think will win? Honestly, Force are looking pretty good, but I do think the Canes have got, well, at least the Canes should have it in them, I think is the way of describing it. They've been a bit lackluster at times throughout the season in the close games. Roy Gard getting his knees taken out by C.O. Tompkinson, but the advantage in favour of the Western Force at the moment. Greeley takes that pass, goes to Kuinzel. That score the lone try for the Force. They are still under penalty advantage. Sounds good breakfast at Hamish's. Did you say you were in Timaru? I did not know. And also, we have got, no, it's a good deal, says Ruth. And 8 hours till brekkie is hard, life for my guts, says Drake. Yeah, I shouldn't have mentioned food because now I'm actually getting a little bit hungry. And it's a long time till the next break. That's going to be now going back for the penalty. I'm offering future grandparents stories to tell their grandchildren. There was this obscure gentleman once in the supermarket, says Sebastian. And also watching Hamish on the phone and rugby on the huge wall screen TV, says Ruth. Yeah, it was Isaiah Walker-Leawiri, the man who was penalised in this case. I can't believe how quick this half is going. I don't know whether or not the referees have been told to hurry it along, but that game between the Chiefs and the Highlanders, I think, was the fastest game of rugby I've seen in quite some time. Like, it was finished at 20-9. I believe it was. Maybe no, it might have actually been 8:45. In fact, like an hour and 40 minutes was all it took to play the game. And about probably 13, 14 minutes of that was half time. And then the subs being made, like it was about as smooth as it could have been. This game at the moment is running in that same fashion. I'm cooking breakfast now in England. Early to work, it's my break. Says Eric. Yeah, working on the theory that, like, if this game runs just as smoothly as the other match, this game could be finished at about 11:20 or so, maybe even earlier, which would give us a nice 20-minute break. Looks like there is an HIA for Marley Pearce that has been called for, so that brings on a sub of Atumoli. Spent some time at the Chiefs in the past. Or that man. And to be cool, says Drape. I'm cooking I'm cooking breakfast now in England. Early to work, it's my break. So what are you cooking for breakfast, Eric? Do let me know. Now, it's going to be use it once. The call from the ref, but the Force, they are holding strong, trying to get this one moving. Right, they've been told to use it right now. Nick White ignoring it, and it's gone. Oh, I think Damon Murphy gave them every possible chance to be able to use that ball. Now 10 metres out from the line here. Western Force looking to strike just before the halftime break. 10 metres out. Molly already having his first carry. Islanders doing well to be able to roll out of there for Xavier Numia. Oh, a little bit of push and shove there between a couple players. Still got his jersey over his shirt. I think they're Ikuasi just trying to shut him down. I think it was Brad Shields. Yes, it was. The shirt pulled over his head. Now, he will think Ikuasi started that, but it was actually a different player initially. So interesting to see what comes out of that beautiful wide pass from Nick White. And Matt Greeley scores right on the verge of halftime. Big feed to Amish's roof. You wash dishes and I'll dry the dishes, says Blues Nate. But great finish from Greeley. Now scores the second try of the match for the Western Force, coming at the perfect time. It's 4th of the season, but the Hurricanes, their ill discipline, been letting them down again here. See, then Brad Shields just trying to take his top off his head so that he could see who it was that he was scrapping with. And then just a really nice pass from Nick White, straight into the hands of Greeley. 7 points difference with still the kick to come. This could be a very handy lead going into the second half here. I think Ben Donaldson's just been told that he's only got a few seconds remaining. OMG, this Canes team starting to annoy me. The thing is, on paper, they look great. They've got some brilliant players across their lineup, but in reality, they just been giving away silly penalties. The Force, they've been playing a very smart game. Great kick from Ben Donaldson. Do you know the Hurricanes are missing Geordie Barrett? Says Sebastian. Could be. Although I don't think Umaga Jensen's done terribly in that number 12 jersey. They just seem to be lacking, at worst, the discipline for them in this match. Now only 17 minutes left. 17 seconds left, I should say, of the half. So I believe the Western Force, if they are strategic, they'll just go for a couple phases here and put the ball into touch. Billy Proctor playing, he is not. So that is another guy that they are missing a little bit. Quick look up at the clock there from Nick White. Just waiting for that half-time siren. Right, they do have to use one more phase. Donaldson, he will kick this ball into touch, and that is half-time. Ladies and gentlemen, Force leading 14 points to 5. And Leon McDonald is coaching box with the Forces. Force doing all right. Now we're missing Gumshaw. Says Drape. Yeah, very good half for the Western Force. Nothing too crazy thrown at them, I would say, other than that nice run from Fehi Whitiarnofo. And they did manage to get themselves a try. The misconversion from Callum Harkin, but just stock standard, really. Just not quite as clinical as they would have liked to be, the Hurricanes, and also their discipline. Letting them down. Now is the cheer shopping going? We've still got same cheer behind us, and we're certainly going to be feeling it by the 8 hours time when all the matches in, but it's all right. I feel like it's not the worst wooden cheer. Like, it doesn't look great, but it does the job. It keeps me upright, which I guess is the main goal of a cheer. And we have the eggs, bacon, tomatoes, and black pudding all in the same pan, says Eric. Nice. Going for the big old cook up in that regard. I just seen that Asia Rugby Live went live for Sri Lanka versus Malaysia in a matchup, but the stream only lasted 6 minutes. Is that because there's going to be a game like later on, maybe? Hard to say, but a random recommendation to have at this time. Who would you put money on? Or would you put money on Canes winning this? Says Sheldon. I would not bet on Super Rugby in general, as it's just too unpredictable. We've had so many people who have tried to blame us for saying yes or no to their bets that they've made, and then they decide that we're the reason that they place them. So we try and avoid giving those sort of predictions. We have there everything but the black pudding, says Rape. The Hurricanes have their heads down at halftime. Yeah, they just haven't fired here, which is a shame because once again, they've got a lot of talent in their lineup. Grab pillows or cushions, protect that Royal Highness bottom, says Blues Nate. And kiwi fruit shipment incoming. Summon the peeler, says Sebastian. Oh, we will go like this. We will go like that as well. There we go. And we go get their ham. Will Vern Cotter get the heave-ho at the end of the season? Well, that's the thing. Like, at the start of the season, right, and at the end of the year, we saw the comments firsthand. When Robertson had a couple rough games, everyone was saying, get Vern Cotter as the AB's coach. And, you know, there weren't many people disagreeing. We said that Robertson was locked in for a bit longer, but yeah, people were saying, Vern Cotter, give him the AB's job. And now this year, everyone's saying, sack Vern Cotter. So, you know, it just shows what a difference 6 months can make. You can go from being the hero in people's eyes to zero pretty much. Did they? Yeah, we had it all the time in the chat. Any time that the All Blacks were losing, people were saying Vern Cotter should be there. Or maybe that was just the Blues supporters that were saying that. But now they are saying get rid of him from the Blues coaching staff. Second half of this contest, not a mile away. We will put up the halftime, or at least the second half replacements. They can make their way onto the field. Now, Atumoli has already made his way on. That is due to the injury, or at least the head knock of Marley Pearce. In terms of the Hurricanes, they have not made any changes yet. I do think that having Billy Proctor off the bench here, though, could be quite substantial for them later on in this game. Same with Braden Yossi. Then in terms of the Western Force, they've got some handy players. Max Burry, got plenty of pace. Reed Prinsep. Won't mind playing up against the Canes here. And Drew Hamish, says Blues Nate. And also we've got, I used to pick Kiwi Fruit and Levin in the early 90s. I thought it was Jamie. Says Mr. Allin. It was a little bit of pretty much anyone but Robertson. I mean, yeah, Jamie Joseph, another guy who currently hasn't quite had the season that he would have been after. I don't know, since when the Hurricanes have started playing Ask Rugby Rugby, Higgins and Proctor on the bench. Yeah, two very handy players to have making their way off the bench. Later on, Canes need to remember you can't score tries with shirts over your face. Says Will. You know, we've seen a lot of physicality from the Western Force in those breakdowns, managing to get a couple steals along the way, which I think have been quite the handy one for them. And who do you think is going to win? I think it's anyone's game. The Canes have been disappointing throughout the first 40 minutes. So if they can fire in the second half, they could come back into the contest. But the Force at the moment look like the safer side heading into the second 40. That Higgins is a good player. He certainly is. Riley Higgins, potential All Black in the future maybe with a couple more seasons under his belt. And the purple game is next Friday. The purple game. Is that the Blues versus Reds? The Battle of Pacific, says Nov Mum. And we have got there, where are we going? Says Blues. Now, are you guys going on a date or something? Have you organised a nice outing? That would be a lovely way to spend a Sunday. But yeah, Fihi Whenua-Nofo, good finish in that case. 14 defenders beaten for the Force compared to the 6 beaten by the Western Force, by the Hurricanes. Seen the 2 tries, Quinzel, and then also try for Matt Greeley out wide. Yes, Reds versus Blues. Says Nov Mum. And should Vern Cotter get the sack? Says James. And then just the 1 try, like I mentioned, for Fihi Whenua-Nofo in that first half for the Western Force. Seen 70 tackles made with 14 missed for the Canes. Tackle completion rate 88% for the Force compared to the 76 of the Hurricanes. We need some good solid posts from the Canes in the second. And if the Blues don't make the playoffs, should be okay. Says Mr. All-In, not even Boss Cheeky Guy, and the Force have won all their home games so far, says NZ Ride. And yeah, they've had some close games at home, but they've managed to get over the line. Didn't they lose to the Reds, though, at home? I think it was 28-24, wasn't it? We'll have a quick look just to make sure that we're not saying the wrong info. But yeah, I think they lost by the same margin twice in a row up against the Reds. So Force beat Moana Pacifica at home. They lost to the Reds at home on the 1st of March. But with the exception of that one, they have done very well at home. So they've been able to get themselves... Who else have they played? They played the Fijian Roar. They beat them 52 points to 15 when they were at home for that game. They beat the Highlanders. They beat the... they haven't beaten the Hurricanes, but they're on the verge of it if they continue playing like that, who have scored. So we saw Bailey Quinzel and Matt Greeley for the Western Force. And then alongside that, we've seen Fihi Whenua-Nofo for the Hurricanes. We have got the VC all good. Keep them, James. When we talk about the Super Rugby matches coming up, we'll look through at what is happening next week. There we go. The Chiefs will be taking on the Western Force. That is a 7:05 p.m. kickoff on Friday night. The Reds versus the Blues. That one taking place at 9:35. And then 3 matches on the Saturday. Moana Pacifica versus the Drua. Highlanders versus the Crusaders. And Brumbies, they are taking on the Hurricanes. So that is once again crucial game for the Canes season. If they do lose this game, that one becomes a must-win to get anywhere near that top 6. Yeah, some big games around the corner for all of the sides. We've only got, I believe it is 5 matches left, and that is including this one for the sides. So you have to make your statement. Now, just talking about the British and Irish Lions, first match of the tour is on the 28th of June up against the Western Force. We are going to be covering that one on the channel, as well as the rest of the British and Irish Lions tour as well, ladies and gentlemen. So anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We've also got the July Internationals that we will be covering on the channel too. There's going to be plenty of action all across the board. Who have scored, says Dash. So once again, Kawinzo and Greeley scored the tries for the Western Force, and Fihi Finina Norfo scored the try for the Hurricanes. So 3 tries in total. Holland and Miller played well for the Highlanders, says Stuart Moore. Yeah, I think that Fabian Holland, I want to say he's on the verge of that call-up. It's going to be tricky, and it all depends on what Robertson's big plan will be. And the Hurricanes clearly missed Geordie and Artie, says Patrick. So let's go, or I would say let's go SVG, but no one cares about him, says Drape. SVG. Who's SVG? I feel like I should know who that abbreviation is, but my brain has gone completely blank. If I'm being honest, the only abbreviation I can think of lately was JOC, and that was, of course, because of his big moment late in the game up against the Blues. Second half will not be too far away, ladies and gents, from taking place. Also, while we are at it, we will show what is coming up for the URC in the next round. For anyone who does cover that or watch that competition, one moment, we'll go there. And I should mention, if you are in New Zealand, you are actually able to watch the URC completely for free. Some of the games anyway. Any games involving South African sides, you are able to watch on TVNZ Plus. All you need is your email and your account like you normally would. Completely free. That Lions game versus Connacht taking place next week. Stormers playing Benetton. Now, the reverse fixtures are actually taking place this week. We are covering both of them on the channel, which does involve that game between the Lions and Benetton, kicking off in only about an hour and 15 minutes time. Stormers, they will be taking on the Connacht side this week. And then we are also covering this week Munster versus the Bulls. So they've got a couple tough games away from home in a row. Yeah, not too far away from those matches taking place. The Hurricanes clearly missed Geordie and Artie, and Holland will be a part of the training environment in the French series. Shane van Gisbergen, says Rape. Okay, no wonder I couldn't think of him then. I was trying to think of a rugby player with that abbreviation, and the brain was not quite kicking in for that one. We have got there Shane O, says a Blues Nate. One moment, we'll go like this and like that. So we've had about 11 minutes of the break already, which does mean only about 2 or 3 minutes away possibly from the two sides making their way back out onto the park. Do let me know your end score predictions. I am really uncertain about this one because the Hurricanes, every game that they play, I think they should be doing slightly better. This game is no different. I feel like they should at least, have scored twice in their half. JRK is 100% putting his name to the All Blacks the next few years, agree? Once again, who are we saying JRK? So I always look through at the lineups that we got for this game, and then I forget completely. And we have got there 32 points to 19, says Novmum. And Kane's usually up the intensity in the second half, says John. Yeah, and it's going to be Nita, Highlanders fullback. Oh, Jacob Ratamaitaviki Netkins. Yeah, he's going to be up there, I think. Him and Stevenson, I think, are probably... Well, you could argue him, Stevenson, and Love all trying to get behind Will Jordan in terms of that Highlanders pecking order. Love your video, says Bad Player. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. We haven't done too many of those Rugby 25 ones as of late. Our Hurricanes one, we finished the season. Haven't started up another one yet just because I'm hoping for a couple decent updates in Rugby 25 where it is a bit more difficult to win. And same brother Nate. I was also watching IndyCar, any race with a Kiwi, I'm watching it. Says Drape in there as well. We have got the, I don't understand what that first half penalty was for. Force bloke injured his ankle. Not sure how that was the Canes' fault as well. I can't even remember the one that you've mentioned about, to be honest. Was that where Ekwasi ended up with a sore ankle? I think that was on the near side of the field, wasn't it? 29 points to 25. Favour of the Canes, says John. Ooh, so you're saying the comeback is on for the Hurricanes, but still given the Force, I assume that would be 1 try and 2 conversions. In that case, if they've got 25. But now, second half, just about to get underway. Looks like a decent crowd at HBF Park, and they've had some decent numbers this year, and I think that is down to the Western Force having a bit of success, getting people watching them again. Looks like a Safwa Moore just getting a little bit of Powerade before the end of the half, or the halftime break, I should say. This has been quite a long halftime period. I assume that they've actually got like a designated time that they wanted the second half to start. As I believe we're sitting about 15 minutes of the halftime break. I do think that if the Western Force, they found a couple easy gaps. They won, what's your favourite South African side? Do you miss them in Super Rugby, says Sheldon? We cover the URC on the channel anyway, so I've always said I don't really notice much of a difference because I still get to see the South African sides week in, week out. We've got 3 games of the URC that we're covering involving South African sides just around the corner. I think that a lot of people do miss them from Super Rugby, and we've also, from those URC live streams, talked to quite a few South Africans who miss being in Super Rugby too. But in terms of a favourite side, I mean, Sharks are stacked, aren't they? But you know, the Bulls are always normally decent to watch, and then you got Stormers, bit of an underdog at times, but can put together some really good rugby. And then the Lions are literally the epitome of the South African underdog, currently sitting in 14th on the URC table with a lot of ground to climb, but they've got their game up against Benetton, and if they can win that, it's going to be massive for them. But Benetton almost beating, I believe it was the Sharks, so they have to be a bit careful there. Second half has kicked off, and it looks like there has been a change made for the Hurricanes. Now, kicking from inside of his 22 down towards the halfway line, nicely claimed by Matt Greeley. Now, Western Force in possession over the ball there. Oh, and he does win the penalty, Raymond Tupu. So they've actually taken a Safwa Moore off the field as well. So they've gone with the early changes of Tupu and Gallagher. And that's the way to make a statement. 30 seconds into being out there, you win your team the penalty. Might have just been a bit of talking. I think Riley Higgins has also made his way on. So the Hurricanes have pretty much said, this first half was bad. We're making switches and we're going to try and change it here. And already getting it right with that decision, Raymond Tupu. Ekwasi, he's also gone off. That is for Reed Prinsep. Now, a little bit overthrown there from the Hurricanes. Duplessis Karefi knocks it on. Which means that they... Oh, no. Wait. I'm sure the ref just said it was a knock on, and now the Hurricanes have got the ball and they've decided that it's going to be play on. So Peter Larkai, they're going to make the most of this here. The Hurricanes, 10 metres out from the line. That time it's knocked on by Duplessis Karefi. He said, ref, I've knocked it on this one as well as the last. Keep pushing Hurricanes. Says Blues Nate. Like they're saying, just too many errors here from the Hurricanes all throughout the season, not just this game. It's been a bit of a repetition for them. It's just not what we're used to seeing. Like, they were near the top of the bunch. So were the Blues last year, and those two sides are outside of the top 6 at the moment. Ruben Love struggled to get anything really going in that number 10 jersey just at this point in time. One predictor at the moment has the Force as 53% likely to get themselves the win. Now, gone down on this near side, which means that the Force get themselves another penalty. That was Xavier Numia just losing his footing. Now, Ben Donaldson, he will be able to kick this one into touch. Just had a calmness about them in this game, the Western Force. Oh, the one doesn't find touch. Now, that is the same as what we had in that game. Was it last week with, I think it was Mark Talia, jumped from outside of the field of play back in, and they actually said that it was still a line out, but in that case, Ruben Love's done it, and it is fine. Now, it's sitting 40 metres out from the line. Riley Higgins with his first touch goes off to Zach Gallagher, the two replacements linking up there. Roigard trying to avoid the man just next to the breakdown, going for the little chip in behind, rolling towards the touchline. That was good footwork there from Harry Potter, but he's kicked it straight into the hands of Cam Roigard. Going off to the right-hand side now, Callum Harkin tries to step. These sides just seem to be on the verge of getting that next breakthrough. Ruben Love, big shot on him by C.O. Tompkinson. Now Roigard back across to Raymond Tupu. He's added a lot of intensity since making his way on. Gallagher thought about the wide cutout pass, decides against it. Just gets taken down on the 22 Natu Nani Punivai with a good driving run. 5 metres gain post contact. Delaney trying to sneak through. This is up to 7 phases here for the Hurricanes. This is almost the most that we have actually seen from them in this contest, which tells you just how poor their handling at times has been. Good run from Duplessis Karefi. 10 metres out from the line now. Delaney. Taken down again by Atumoli. Titan props for Forces. He's on form, been outstanding all season. Says the Blues, Nate. Yeah, that would be Tom Robertson. He has been really pushing a lot of the props around the... Oh, a little bit of push and shove there between Lomax and I think it was C.O. Tompkinson, but the Hurricanes trying to get back up and have another crack there. Only 2 metres out from the line. Roigard with the pick and go. And the ref says held up, so they will go back for the penalty, but mistake maybe from Roigard in terms of trying to go himself. We had the big forwards with him. Here we go, Kane says will. And it's going to be for offside. Force up by 9, says Ruth. They certainly are. 35 minutes remaining in this match now. And they're just showing there, Roigard ends up putting it down on a boot in that scenario. And thank you, Hamish. Says Blues Nate. Tom Robinson, solid, my guy. But yeah, he just seems to be one of those players that he doesn't get a huge amount of runs off the ball compared to some of the other tight heads in the comp, but when it comes to scrums, he just makes people really uncomfortable when they're going up against them. There's going to be a scrum now for the Hurricanes. They've actually opted for that rather than going for the corner here. Damon Murphy just trying to speed them along too by the sounds of what happening to the pace. Falling off, says Ruth. Yeah, compared to that last game, this one has been a lot more stop-start. And that game I'm referring to is the Highlanders versus Chiefs game. Even with all their handling errors, it still felt like the game was going forward. This one we've had quite a few extra stoppages. But now scrum feed here for the Hurricanes. A big push. They've got themselves another penalty advantage. Balin Sullivan drops the ball. And do they want to go quickly here, the Canes? Like Duplessis Karefi was considering it, but instead they will, I would think, go to the scrum again here. Yes, they do. It also just frees up a bit more space on the outside for them to be able to use. Roigard still got those little mistraits he needs to fix. Yeah, it was a decent pass to Balin Sullivan there, out in front of him. Maybe a bit too far for him to be able to reach. Oh. Wow. So the Hurricanes at half-time, 3 players failed their HIAs. Peter Umunga Jensen, Asafua Moore, and Isaiah Walker-Leowiri. So the question is, how long were those 3 playing with their head knock that they didn't realise? At the same time, maybe it's just really hard questions today for the HIA. Atu Molly, he's still out there after, I believe, Marley Pearce has failed his. I think they've just got those trick questions. Oh, Harkin with a brilliant run through the middle and scores the try for the Cane. How we lose, and says Tane. I mean, they haven't been clinical enough. They've given away a lot of penalties, but that was a really nice run from Callum Harkin, who went straight through the gap, and the Hurricanes finally get themselves on the score sheet again. But they did have that chance short side, and just nicely done for Harkin going straight through, maybe, or must be a faulty mouth guard. It could be. But yeah, it's interesting that they only did the test at half-time. And Asafo Moore, I talked about it. He was having his Powerade, getting ready to make his way back out. Hand-eye coordination in New Zealand team starting to be as bad as Aussie teams lately. So as well, and that is a very strong finish. Nick White almost able to cut him off, but score now sitting 14 points to 12. And yes, says John. How's the crocodile kebabs tasting? Says Ruth there. 3 players were made to be snowflakes. Says Drape. Yeah, I think those changes, like, to be fair, they've actually worked pretty nicely for the Hurricanes. We have seen Raymond Tupatupu get that first initial steal to start off the half. We've seen a couple carries for Riley Higgins, and then also, I mean, we haven't seen a huge amount of them just yet, but Zach Gallagher, he's had a couple touches. And Carter, I love them, says Drape. Now, Cam Roygard will be able to go for the box kick. Sitting around that halfway line, nicely taken by Matt Greeley again. Tackled by Balin Sullivan. Now, Nick White. Back across to the right-hand side, Ben Donaldson. Hamish short on the outside goes to Harry Potter. Oh, it was almost intercepted by Harkin. It's just going to be called as a knock-on. It's going to be another scrum here for the Western Force. And Kangaroo Tail smoked on the barb for 5 hours. Yeah, says Drake. That is a long time. Oh, I guess smoking-wise, it's probably not that long, is it? And I love you commentating, says Dave. Thank you very much. We have got plenty more coming. Next week, we've got Super Rugby back again. URC, we've got 3 more games back to back to back. So another probably 7 hours of commentating for the day, which seems like a good idea when you write it all down in the schedule, but then by the last game, you're normally feeling it. My eggs and pork sausage and fried mushrooms are heavenly, says Ruth. See, I really want breakfast now, but it's 10:40 p.m. here in New Zealand, so it's not really a breakfast time. It's breakfast somewhere, though. Is Braden Yossi on the bench? He is. I'm not sure when he'll be making his way onto the field, but I can't imagine it would be outside of the next 10 minutes or so. And how much, brother? Oh, hey, brother. Says Betty V, how you doing? Doing very well. Excited for the 3 games of the URC. Just around the corner. Lions versus Benetton. Originally, we weren't going to be covering that game on the channel, but I decided it just looked like too good of a game to miss. Plus, I mean, the Super Rugby games have been running quite smoothly today in terms of match times. Last match was 1 hour 40. This one might not be a mile away from that either. Oh, that's gone down, and another penalty. Going the way of the Western Force on the far side of the scrum. And shame darling poor kangaroo, says Ruth. I think Xavier Numia is not too sure about that call going against him. That's now about his 2nd or 3rd that has gone against him in the scrum. Tom Robinson is having an absolute field day at the moment. And he just goes down. Ends up folding. A line out about 26 metres out from the line now. Chance here for the Western Force. They are only up by 2. I feel like for them to feel safety in this game, they do need that lead. They had before back. Thrown in. Nicely taken at the back for the Western Force. Popping it up to Nick Dolly. Oh, that's a hospital pass to Harry Potter. And he is stuck under a breakdown at the moment, and the penalty goes the way of the Hurricanes. So terrible decision there from Dolly in terms of which way to go. Oh, player coming flying in. That is not smart from Nick Champion to Chris Pigney. And now it's still kicking off. Now we actually saw players get yellow carded in the URC for that. I'm not sure who's fired him up. The time is off. Captain is being called over. I'm not sure what has happened there, but he has flown in from a long way out. Referee calling him over, 6 blue. He's getting called over too. Oh. Okay. So referee there has said that's the second time that he's come running in, but I'm not going to penalise him next time. He'll go to the bin. Yeah, I think Zach Gallagher tried to pull a player out of the breakdown, which he really shouldn't have, but then you're not really supposed to go flying in from way off to the side. And Rico are going to get what he is worth. Good on him, says Drape. I'm listening to Hamish watching Grand Prix footage. And damn, he went flying in there, says Blues. Nate thrown in now for Raymond Tuputupu over the top. Tackled in the air was Harry Potter. Was tackle made by Harry Potter. Now Roygard off to the right-hand side. Peter Lakai, well defended around the halfway line by Reed Princep. Getting over the ball there for Carlo Tizzano. Very unlucky not to get that penalty. Callum sells the dummy. They got about 40 metres out. I thought they'd too, Roof, but nah, they're pretty violent creatures. Now off to the left-hand side. Rush defence on Raymond Tupu, but he shoves off Ben Donaldson. Now where's this ref from? Seems like a Force fan. He is from Australia. I'm not sure of the region that he's from. Damon Murphy. We'll have a look. I wouldn't say he's a fan of the Australians, I wouldn't think. There's a petition. Sack Damon Murphy as a Super Rugby ref. Did you know that? When you search Damon Murphy, that's the first thing that pops up. They've had 104 signatures. So obviously there was one bad game that everyone got annoyed at him. And the penalty goes the way of the Western Force. Maybe a few Hurricanes fans will sign that petition by the end of this one. He used to play on the wing. And he was playing in Rugby Sevens. Fun fact. It does seem to be the case that a lot of the referees are ex-players. Nice attack and run from Callum Harkin initially. And just didn't quite get that pass where he wanted it. Whited or Hoskins to do pass. Hurricanes fullback pass to no one's. Says Blues Nate. It seems like everyone's trying it now after Hoskins. I mean, we saw McKenzie do it. The game up against the Highlanders. Just 26 minutes remaining. Sullivan is off. And Billy Proctor makes his long-awaited return. Evening, Amish and all. Says Studs Rays welcome in. Our Lions vs Benetton will be huge to see which one will make the top 8. And yeah, initially, like I said, I was going to be missing that game. But when I saw it and how close the table was and the fact that I didn't mind sitting here for another few hours, I thought, I have to do it. Rather than cooking tea can wait till breakfast time tomorrow. Billy Proctor. Now running this one forward. First game for him of 2025, like they've said. And Canes had this in the bag. They not need to pass it. Just got control of the TV. Good rugby tonight, says Suds Race. Couple more one-sided games, unfortunately. This is probably the closer game that we've had of the day so far. Ball almost stripped out of the hands of Xavier Numia. Roygard goes back across to Lomax, who has dropped the ball, and Darcy Swain manages to pick it up. Princep now. Pass round the back from Atumoli. Everyone's just throwing those type of passes this round. Nick White kicks it in behind. Harry Potter chasing after this one. Could be a good chance if the bounce is favourable, which it is. Passes it round his back to Ben Donaldson. It is now 2 round the backs in about 30 seconds from the Western Force. And I guess if you raise one from a Joey, then they might be good. But no one wants them as pets, says Drape and Higgins, says Lee C. The Force 40 metres out from the Hurricanes line. Quick hands there. Trying to get the turnover was Caleb Delaney. At least got his hands on the ball for a second. Picked up by Greeley. Hurricanes are still well and truly in this game, but it just feels like momentum once again is slipping away from them. Karifi makes the tackle on his opposite number, Carlo Tizzano. Now White goes across to Atumoli. 5 phases. in a row here for the Force. Donaldson going for the chip, straight to Ruben Love. And he will kick that one downfield. And they will lose a lot of meters from that kick. That's actually happened multiple times for both teams. Oh, beautiful charge down there from Ruben Love. Put it in the hard yards. Almost got the position, but the Force again scramble. It's accidental offside from the Hurricanes, so it means that the Western Force will have themselves the scrum feed again. Same as Koala Bears, they are aggressive little fellas. Says right there. Yeah, some huge hits coming in throughout this matchup. Carlo Tizzano just putting his body on the line like he always does. Yeah, some big contact. And hurry up, Hurricanes blow, baby. Says Ruth there. Harry Potter. Just, yeah, accidental offside. I think that was from Brad Shields, this one initially in New Zealand. Says Lee C. Now 23 minutes remaining. This is when the big moments will happen. And two big changes happening here for the Hurricanes as well. Tyrell Lomax and Xavier Numia both making their way off the field. And that is going to be for the replacement front rows of Basilio Tosi and Tavita Mafaleo. Or Tavita Mafaleo, I should say. Now, this is an interesting one. Because Basilio Tosi, right, got into the All Blacks environment last year. Plays predominantly as the man off the bench in this game and also throughout the season. So does Robertson look at him as a signing or a potential player for them in July? Or does he look at someone who's been starting matches? I guess one benefit you've got with Basilio Tosi is the fact that he's become a bit of a specialist off the bench, you could argue. The penalty does go the way of the Hurricanes. Now, they didn't actually have the feed into that one. It's going to be collapsing going against, I think this time, it was the replacement there. I'm not actually too sure. It was the replacement 16, whose name I don't actually know. And first successful scrum for the Canes. Woo, says Will there. Yeah, it was a good push. A lot of pressure on both of these sides to be able to perform. Once again, in the table department, these two sides, the Force are in the top 6 at the moment. Now, this was the way that it was before that last game between the Chiefs and the Highlanders. The Chiefs currently are sitting in number 1 with the points differential of over the 100. But in terms of the Force, if they lose this game and the Hurricanes win it, depending on if there is a bonus point, Hurricanes can move into that top 6, which would be a massive one for them. Definitely because they have been far from their best in this game again. Rolling maul coming now, though. 20 metres out from the line. Cam Roigard searching for that ball, but beautifully defended by the Western Force, and they have tied it up to a scrum. They have just been... They're just the more hungry side, I think, is a way to describe it. They just seem like they are wanting to win this more. Hurricanes did all the hard work. Being able to win that scrum just to give it away in the end. Yeah, Roigard looking straight to the referee. He was not happy about it. 9 try assists from Roigard. They've just mentioned some brilliant numbers there, but we're into the last quarter now of this matchup. Playing Cody Rhodes' theme music, getting in the WrestleMania spirit at the Western Force home ground. Making the Hurricanes win this game, says Mikhail. They're going to have to play better than they have throughout the first 60 minutes. But like they're still within a penalty or a converted try or anything like that to give them a decent chance. So like I don't think they're out of this game. But they're certainly going to need to sort something out soon if they do want to win it. And now, Nick White will feed the ball in. Inside of their 22 at the moment. And ball, I assume, would just be kicked into touch here. What is the field position now? Currently 20 metres out from their own line here, the Western Force, and Nick White tries to go short. So I thought about an offload, but he had absolutely no one around him. Bit of a counter ruck coming here from the Canes, but it sits up for Tom Robertson. Hurricanes are still in the position of a bonus point here if they were to lose by this margin, but that would now be 3 games in a row that they have lost by less than 7 or 7 or less, which is not quite what you want. They want to be closing out the games if they can. Reed Prinsep against his old team in the Canes. All over the ball there for Basilio Tossi. Almost managed to get it. Nick White kicks it downfield if the Canes do. Win, be the first New Zealand team to win in Australia this year. Way to go, Aussie. Sears Morris, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and the American Dreams Dusty Rhodes. Says Blues, Nate. And Canes blowing something because ain't the Force, says Dre. And don't get me wrong, like the Force's 2 tries that they've been able to score were pretty handy ones. But yeah, the Canes just don't seem to be working on the same page at the moment, which is concerning because we are getting pretty close to those playoff games. Harkin with the pass on the outside to Natunani Funivai. Now Roygard off to the left-hand side again. Gallagher. Nice carry forward. Roygard finds Love, who hasn't really played the best, I would say. As Cody Rhodes related to Dusty, he is his son. Now off to the left-hand side, Roygard with a pick and go. Goes off to Fihi Finianofo, who breaks through. He's such a dangerous player with ball in hand, and he gets his double, which now gives the Hurricanes the lead. The game needs to win, or the game needs to win this one. I assume that's the Canes. I think it might have auto-corrected there, but yeah, they do need the victory. Fihi Finianofo doing brilliantly there, but Nick White went to the short side, got isolated, and then the Hurricanes eventually managed to get that ball back. And when you give Fihi Finianofo a one-on-one chance, it was actually a bit of friendly fire there. Greeley tried to make the tackle, and he ended up pretty much knocking out Nick White in the process. Like they've just said, Nick White in a little bit of trouble after that head knock. And now, getting a bit closer to the end of this one. Awesome try, really. I didn't know what to expect for this one. Looks like Fihi Finianofo might have a bit of a shoulder injury and also getting a bit of a rub down on his calf. So, it's going to be a bit of a tricky one near the end of this contest. He's had quite a bit of work to do. Callum Harkin misses away to the side and forced number 1 tactic blindfolding the Canes with their shirts. Didn't quite work that time. Says Will. Yeah, Finianofo looks like he will continue in this matchup. It was a nice assist for Cam Roygard, so he gets assist number 10 now of his season. Okay, Nick White not going to be continuing in this match either after his head knock. And like they're saying, sounds like Nick White just trying to get him to the changing rooms at the moment. I think it was a pretty substantial knockout blow. Will Harris now makes his way onto the field. And same with Pullman coming on for Quenzel. And then Smith on for Nick White. I think that's incorrect. It's actually Henry Robertson on. I'm not sure why they've got Smith there, who is a prop. Yossi onto the field for Brad Shields. So both sides just opting to make a lot of changes in quick succession there. A nice step coming from Will Harris. I didn't mention this should be a close one. Says NZ Riot. Darcy Swain. Nice offload there. Hands from Jeremy Williams. But the Hurricanes almost won the penalty, but it will be against them here. Ruben Love not happy, slapping his thighs out of frustration. No clear release, the call. And that is against Billy Proctor, man who recently did return from a long injury layoff. It's for hands in the ruck, but currently 15 minutes to go. Oh no, that Sri Lanka versus Malaysia match is back on, ladies and gentlemen. Sri Lanka currently beating Malaysia 12 points to 7 in a game of rugby. That's quite cool that they stream those on YouTube. And man, the song is a big letdown, nothing like his old, his son is a big letdown, nothing like his old man. Says Drape. Probably a bit harsh. I feel like wrestling's changed a bit since old Dusty was around. It's pretty hard to be considered that same level when wrestling used to be the caliber that it was. Now ready to throw this one in. Nicely taken by Darcy Swain, going to be the penalty advantage. And these misconversions by the Canes is killing me, says Mikhail. Back across to the right-hand side. Donaldson passes to Greeley. Didn't actually look like he was going to be passing when he did. So I think that put Donaldson off, but they will go back for the original penalty again here. And let's go Sri Lanka, says Blues Nate. Yeah, it's actually got 2,600 people watching that game as well, which I think is, I mean, it's not just a sign that rugby's growing in some of those smaller nations, but it's a sign that they should have more games on YouTube involving like the random sites. But now they have kicked this one towards the corner. So this is an interesting one because the Western Force could have taken 3 there to get back to a draw, but they've decided they want to get the lead, a Sri Lanka player. Let's go Lanka. Andrew says Blues Nate. Another line-out chance here. They would currently have the bonus point for losing this game, the Western Force, but I'm sure they will be looking for something more than that. Rolling maul, defended well by the Canes. Force told to use it again. They haven't really made a lot of meters from their rolling maul. So disappointing man, says Mikhail. The game's not over yet, though. Still time for the late league change. Or in fact, no, you wouldn't want a lead change at this point, of course. I was a bit harsh on the voice. Sorry, Dusty Sun. Says Drape and Dry coming, I feel here. Says Will. And the penalty goes the way of the Hurricanes. That is a massive turnover to get, and it is none other than Duplessis Karefi, who manages to get it at such an important time. Big high fives all round from his teammates there. And back in the day, wrestling the Ultimate Warrior, says John. Yeah, like back in the 80s and the 90s, like they used to get insane, like reception. And like they were just, they were the equivalent of celebrities in a way. Turn over the ball, please. They did just that, Mikhail. George the Animal Steel, says Drape. Now, the Hurricanes will have the line out about 40 metres out. It just feels like there's going to be a big moment to determine this game extremely soon. I'm not sure what moment it will be, but it's coming. Bad News Brown, says Drape there too. Now line out throw for Raymond Tupu Tupu. Oh, Western Force actually jumping very early there, almost before he had even thrown the ball in. Oh no, they've got him penalised for throwing him across though, rather than lifting him straight up. So 12 minutes left, still the 3-point advantage here for the Hurricanes over the Force. And all to play for the final moments. Okay, one of the commentators was saying, I'm just trying to work out what that call was for. Then they showed the replay and he's like, oh, you know, it's closing the gap. So, did catch it in the replay. They're just saying about the breeze starting to pick up a little bit more here. That could be a bit of a factor getting into the later stages as well when it comes to line-out accuracy on Rando YouTube Sports. Women's T20 International, Norway versus Portugal. 56,000 viewers. That is massive for a game of cricket. There's some big lads in that Sri Lankan team, says Fleshin. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a gap between the URC and Super Rugby at the end of this game, so I'd recommend if you guys do want to watch Sri Lanka Malaysia, go for it, see what it looks like. And rugby in Sri Lanka's second most popular sport. The cricket team met, I think it was the Crusaders when they were here once, says Patrick. And Jake the Snake Roberts and Brett the Hitman Hart were my favourite, says Wade, and Red Rooster, says Drape. Now, another penalty going the way of the Western Force. That is a good sign. Nick White on the sidelines back to his feet and walking around after his big knock that he did have earlier on in the contest. And a decent crowd as well, says Fleshin. So yeah, maybe, who knows, maybe they keep on growing it. Over there, the Bushwhackers, says John. Of course, the Kiwi boys in that regard. Join their live stream, Sri Lanka and Malaysia. Says Blues Nate. Now into the final 10 minutes of this matchup here. If the clock runs smoothly, we will have another 1 hour 40-ish minute game of rugby, which is very quick compared to what we have seen in some of the past ones. Like there was a 2-hour game last week. That's a huge hit from Karifi and Lakai. Driving the Force player backwards, looking for the steal. They don't quite get it. Now inside ball, it was close to 4, but it's going to be play on. And now grub it in behind. Sliding onto that one was the replacement, Henry Robertson. And the Hurricanes get another penalty. At the moment, the game's going to be determined, I believe, in the breakdown. These two sides just jockeying for possession. Massive shot there from Duplessis Karifi, who has really come alive throughout this recent half. As the audience joins the Kiwi lads. We got you. And Force defence should have taken definitely should have taken the 3. I mean, they'll probably come to regret it if they do go on to lose this contest. 11 penalties against the Force in this game. And we have seen the 10 from the Hurricanes. Love the All Blacks in Sri Lanka. Says Patrick. Raymond Tupu. Another throw here. Referee just blowing his whistle again. COC9 beware. Says rape. Now, Tupu with an important line-out throw. Has to get it right. And it's going to be contested. The Force managed to regather it with Will Harris. It's the Canes in the Force half, mate. They are now, yes, after that penalty and kicking it into touch. But now the Force have got the possession 40 metres out from their own line. Iritara Inari has made his way onto the field for Cam Roygaard. Box kick coming again from the Force. They have to try and find a way into the half of their opposition. That is a fantastic catch under the high ball there from Cam. Or in fact, no, sorry, it was Ruben Love this time. Lakai going back across to Riley Higgins. Billy Proctor, standing start, doesn't know where to go. So instead, we'll go for the kick in behind, but it's taken inside of the 22 by the Western Force. Crowd starting to get behind them. Donaldson puts the kick downfield. Seen a lot of kicks in general play throughout this contest. Callum Harkin runs right up to the halfway line. Force unable to get the steal. Iritara Inari going across there to Pasilio Tosi. Man, I miss being young in the 80s. Says Drape and gets the substitutions have helped the Canes. Says NZ right. Yeah, straight away, we saw the impact from Raymond Tupu. Went onto the field and had the plan. Be able to get those early steals. Nice run from Potter on the short side. Floats up to Greeley. 2 players for the Force leaving their feet, but that was because the Hurricanes players pulled away. Now once again going to be rolled back by the Western Force. Still time remaining, 3 points difference. Both of these sides need this win. The Force need it to stay inside of the top 6. The Hurricanes need it to get into that top 6 area. Now, Iritara Inari offloads to Duplessis Karifi. Again has dropped the ball. That's about the 3rd time he's dropped it throughout this match. And now it gives the opportunity for Robertson to fire it across to the left-hand side. Off to George Pullman. Tackled by Proctor. Getting in there now was Braden Yossi, but he doesn't get the jackal right. Now I'm back across to the right again. Robertson goes to Princep Greeley. Gets it away to Stewart. Donaldson receives the offload, runs forward, Iritara Inari has a bit of a slip, moves up to 22 metres out now for the Force. They have got the prime position on the field here to go on to get themselves the try. Was that a penalty advantage from the ref, or was it just a slight arm raise? I think it was just the arm raise. Canes always do well against the Force. Nice pass on the outside. Harry Potter kicks it in behind. It goes dead and he's just headbutted a camera really badly. And he'd probably be lucky if he didn't just break his jaw on it. But he fully committed to that one, Harry Potter. He does not look in good shape at the moment. He had one when he was playing in England where he jumped down the side of, they've got like a dangling or like a canal around the field. Whoever decided that was a good idea, I don't know. But he jumped into it and completely disappeared. And that one, that camera angle, as bad as it sounds, can we please see it? Because I feel like that would be quite an interesting one to look at, Harry Potter. But he grubbers it in behind, then chases it hard, then tries to fling it back in and just, Luckily for him, actually got the camera on the side. Just missed, but that could have actually been brutal if he had caught that one. Oh, I think they've just shown the replay around the ground. We're not going to get that same replay, I don't think, unfortunately. I think Potter's more disappointed that he didn't get the try than he was to headbutt a thing on the sideline, even if Harry Potter could magically make the cameraman disappear. Not that Harry, says Blues Nate. And always the 80s WWF with Mean Gene Okerlund, says Drape. Now ready to feed this ball in. 4 minutes left. It's just been close. You're not a wizard, Harry, says Thuds Rays. Just out. Oh, gone down front row. Referee gives the penalty to the Hurricanes again. And cameraman never dies, says Pie Man. And Defence Hurricanes come on, and that is a massive reprieve of the pressure. 4 minutes left here. They're ahead by 3. Of course, they'd love a win by more than 7, but it doesn't actually change anything. The only thing it would change is the fact that the Force get that extra point, which going down to the wire could actually be quite crucial. And that kick hasn't found touch from Ruben Love. Mistake made. And what has been a really mixed game for him. He's had a couple good takes under the high ball. He's kicked the ball away aimlessly and now has missed the chance for the Hurricanes to be able to gain a lot of meterage. It means that the Western Force once again are going to have themselves another attacking chance. Atumoli. In that case, if you are the Canes, you just have to make sure that ball goes out. Time left, 4 minutes. In fact, down to 3 now. Donaldson's looking dangerous in just the last couple of moments. Being told to let the ball come in. The advantage now. Oh, advantage in favour of the Force. We could see golden point here, ladies and gents, if the Force decide that they want to take the 3, but they'll go for the cross kick instead. Nicely taken by Tompkinson, but he's in the touchline. Right. Now is the decision. If the Force go for the corner and they fail, they will more than likely lose this game. If the Force take the 3, we go to 17-17 with 2 minutes remaining. And then if it's still a draw at full time, we go to golden point. Well, I feel like this game's going to be a draw, says Mikhail, because it's looking likely at the moment. And Force starting to look like 2022 Blues. Right, the decision, they're taking on the shot. Now, this is one that you have to make sure goes over, because they did try for the corner last time and it was unsuccessful. Everyone coming, dude. So here's Draper. Now 2 minutes remaining on the clock here, ladies and gentlemen. A kick to come for the Western Force. Ben Donaldson, can he do what James O'Connor did in the game between the Crusaders and the Blues and be cool, calm and collected in the final moments? Did you see Wire's golden point versus Bronx? Very short. See, it starts race. I didn't see how long it was, but I did see the score. And that one, a draw would mess up my parlay, says Mikhail. Could be on the cards here. Only 100 seconds remaining. And miss, says Leonard. Donaldson strikes. And he gets the ball over with 90 seconds left now. It is anyone's game. Anyone who gets a penalty could go on to win this contest. You Drape. Then there was that wrestling. I think it's called celebrity wrestling, says John. I think they've decided they want to go to golden point because I said about how I might be able to get a snack a while ago after this live stream. But I think this is going to close the gap. Nice take there from the Western Force. They're inside of their own 22, trying to run this one forward with the youngster George Pullman. But jumping on the ball there. Hurricanes get the steal from Billy Proctor, who is now putting in 5 fins in a row till he is dragged down by the Western Force. Eritale Inari going back across to the left-hand side. Ruben Love rushed the fence and sits him down. Braden Yossi getting rid of Harry Potter. Now Eritale Inari looking to the short side. Riley Higgins 15 metres out from the line here for the Hurricanes. Basilio Tossi, he has scored in extra time before. Knock on there though, coming from the Hurricanes, picked up by the Force. They are 10 metres out from their line. Knock on from the Hurricanes with 15 seconds remaining. I think it's going to be that the Force just take the draw here if they do win the scrum. And here we go, big scrum from the Canes. Starts race. Of course, if they win the penalty at scrum time, they might consider going up the field a lot more. And we have got there, it was great wrestling, John says, Drape. Restart, deep or shallow. So in this, it was a little while ago, I should mention, but currently 10 metres out from the line. And the Western Force have got themselves the scrum feed in their favour. Big scrum from the Canes. Well, they've had a pretty decent scrum throughout this game, but Tom Robertson has been handy. What a game, loving it. Says Stuart Moore. Is it going to be the first game that we do see Golden Point, ladies and gentlemen? The Hurricanes have won in Golden Point up against the Reds before. So they have beaten an Australian side in that regard. But now the Force to feed this ball and big push right. They're back. Donaldson will kick it into touch. And for the first time this year, ladies and gentlemen, we will go to extra time. Is it full time? It is, but it isn't. Because now we have more time on the clock. It will be 17-17. We go to super point. For anyone who's wondering how that works, pretty much we've got a 10-minute period now. Whoever, or in fact they're going to put it all up there, so we'll just read off what they've got. If scores are tied at full time, there will be super point played. First try scorer gets choice of kickoff or receiving. So in that case, it's actually the Hurricanes because they were able to score first up against the Western Force. First team to score a try, penalty, goal, or drop goal will be the winner. If after 10 minutes neither team has scored, the game will be a draw. So, it's going to take us very close to the start of that next game between Benetton and the Lions, but we are going to be covering that one on the channel too, ladies and gentlemen. But for the first time this season, we get to see a super point. I would, at the moment, if we're being completely honest, is the game over? It is over for the regular time, finishes as a draw, but there can still be a winner during that golden point period. And over the moon, my Chiefs are top of the table. Says Smash Proof there. They certainly are, and that is where they will stay at least for another 5 days or so. 6 days, maybe 7 days. Or if they get the win, they will be able to stay there for a lot longer. The Force been conceding a lot of penalties late in the game, so maybe Hurricanes can get this, says NZ Riot. And yeah, it's that fatigue side of things that I believe will be slotting in or kicking in a bit more now. Now, we should mention, brilliant kick from Ben Donaldson to get that one over, whose gains 11, 14, 15. So for this game, they have got Fihi Finianofo, got himself 2 tries out on the left wing from this game. Natunani Punivai, a bit more of a quiet one on the other side. And then Callum Harkin at number 15, who I actually think has been pretty solid for playing in that 15 jersey in this match. He's also going to have kicking responsibilities in this one, so the pressure will certainly be on. I turn it off when the Broncos leveled the scores 18 all, says Drape. But now, this is gonna be pressure, ladies and gents. Like I mentioned, Pasilio Tossi has actually scored a try in extra time before. That was up against the Reds about 2 years ago. So it's been a little while, but he'll still feel confident that they can get themselves a win here. I've got there the laughing face from Blues Nate there. In truth, today's very windy night. What's happening? It is Golden Point. So we're waiting for it to start up, or as they call it now, Super Point, because they're fancy. So anyone who sees break time, that is not half time, that is the end of regular playing. It's out on the Sri Lanka-Malaysia game is interesting. No moderators, says Leshan. Can't imagine that one would definitely be kicking off there. Come on, Canes, do it. And also, has either team gained ascendancy at the collision? The Force started off pretty nicely in terms of being able to get in those breakdowns and put in the big hits. The Hurricanes came back in the second half, though, so I think that is one of the reasons that they didn't go on to lose this game as of yet. I'm on my third Castle draft, and it's still 14 points to 12. Says Ruth. But yeah, they are just showing some of the physical moments throughout this match, and there has been plenty. Who's kicking off, says Patrick. So we don't know that yet, but we do know that because the Hurricanes were able to score themselves the first try of the match, they get to decide if they want to receive kickoff or not. Now, I think you want to kick off. So yeah, the Hurricanes are doing just that. You want to force the opposition deep inside of the area, but the super point period gets underway, ladies and gentlemen, and it is kicked off long from the Hurricanes. Rush defense there from Natunani Punivai. Doesn't quite work out. But tackled inside of their 22. First to score any form of points wins this one now, ladies and gentlemen. Kick downfield from Henry Robertson. Doesn't go into touch. Drop ball from Harkin, and it goes out. So the Force will have themselves the line out around the halfway line. The Wales and my Canes as well as SVG are hard to support sometimes, says Drape, and hectic over there, I feel, left, says Blues Nate. Come on, someone please score, says Ruth. So yeah, pretty much 10-minute period here. If we don't see anyone scoring tries or any sort of points, the game ends in a draw. 2 points per team. What did you have for dinner tonight, Hamish? Says Smash Proof. Oh, I had some toast earlier on. So that's going to be my dinner, lunch. Well, my dinner and the midnight snack, I guess. Penalty advantage now for the Western Force. This will be about 55 metres out, but nice run from Artur Molly. Ball is loose. Picked back up by the Force again. Donaldson looking for the cross kick. Harry Potter chasing after this one. Doesn't bounce nicely, so they will go back for the original penalty. The chat is in English. As restrained, Fijians have copped some flax off the Sri Lankans for some reason. Please don't F this, Drape, and come on, Hurricanes, no draw. So this one will be about 55 metres out. Donaldson, distance marginal in terms of whether or not he's got enough to be able to get this one over. I think he's going to attempt it by the looks of it. Yes, he is. And they've decided that they might as well, because worst comes to worst, the Hurricanes get this ball deep inside of their area. Maybe it's a 22 dropout, and then there's a chance of a drop goal for the Western Force if they get that right. Brad Shields has just realised that they've taken about 5 steps forward for Ben Donaldson's kick here. I think the crowd are not too happy about it either. He's almost moved up to the halfway line, Ben Donaldson. That is more than now in his range. Penalty was awarded back on maybe 56 metres out. He's gained at least 4 metres since then. And this one becomes a very kickable 3 now. Donaldson, he slotted it over nicely earlier on to make it a draw. Can he now make it a win? Distance is good, but it misses away to the side. I can see why he took those few extra metres, because he wouldn't have been able to get there otherwise. Is it 2 10-minute periods? Just the 1 10-minute half. And everybody is playing rugger. Says Drake there, and Earth says NZ right. Roygaard with a big sigh of release. Massive goal line dropout, or 22 dropout, I should say, from the Hurricanes. Reed Prince at 40 metres out from his own line, giving me a heart attack, says Tane. Now back across, Ben Donaldson will kick it high. Now, nicely taken by Callum Harkin, goes across to Ruben Love, whose kicks have been all over the place today. That one, he's gone straight down the middle into the hands of the Western Force fullback. Donaldson looking for the 50-22. Nice sliding catch there from Callum Harkin. Thought about it on the inside. Looks for the risky run down the wing and gives the ball up, but he gets in there almost. Got the ball back. Next point win, says Charlie. Exactly right. In the golden point period, the Force 45 metres out from the Hurricanes line. The more deserving side at the moment, you would still have to say, is the Western Force in this game. The Hurricanes just have not been anywhere near clinical enough. Darcy Swain, good carry from him. Robertson goes short side. And of course, being Henry, they're up to 40 metres. In fact, closer than that, about 30 metres now. Well, if no one scores, then it is a draw. They've got 10 minutes and we're already 4 minutes through that extra time period. Now Darcy Swain again. Waiting for this ball. Robertson asking for the penalty. Ref does not oblige. Eritara Ineri gets it away to Ben Donaldson. 5 minutes now passed in the extra time period. Will they set up for a drop goal here? That's a massive shot from Basilio Tosi, and almost the turnover for Karefi. Donaldson passes off to Potter. Still going. 12 phases in a row here. I don't know if there was a clear release for Zach Gallagher, so does the smart move of pulling out of it. Both sides extremely fatigued here. Western Force trying to get that penalty advantage, but they are yet to receive it. Potter with the ball on the inside to Robertson. This is really situated for the drop kick. About 25 metres straight out in front. Karefi went for the turnover again. Greeley under a bit of pressure as he does play half. 17 phases in a row now for the Western Force. They are not giving up just yet. The advantage still is yet to come. Now big run from Carlo to Zano onto the ball. Not quite able to get the steal. In fact, no. Back into the pocket. Donaldson with the drop goal is charged down by the Hurricanes and picked up by Proctor, who offloads it to Riley Higgins. Now counter-attacking chance for the Hurricanes. Proctor tackled 40 metres out, but brilliant work from the Hurricanes to be able to charge that one down. Now trying to fire it out wide. Peter Larkai tries to chip and chase. Not sure about that decision from the big man. Kick forward again from the Canes and it goes dead. They'll go back for the scrum. I swear if we lose, says Tane. Please tickle the like button, peeps. We only got 19 so far, says Drape. Will Harris shaking his head. He's not happy. The drop goal attempt. Peter Larkai getting there and charging it down. And then Proctor picking it up. I just don't know if that was the decision from Larkai. It almost worked though, because the Western Force had to juggle at the back. And great commentary, says Stuart Moore. Thank you very much. Brad Shields waiting for the bounce of the ball, and it just didn't quite sit up for his side. Great game for scramble, save them, said Studs Race. Yeah, their defence has come a long way in the last little while. We have to give them a huge amount of credit there. Scrum feed now, though, for the Hurricanes, or for the Force, sorry, inside of their own 22. But 3 minutes left. Nick White watching on to go off for that concussion earlier on, but does seem like he's still got his wits about him here. And few intents, says NZ Riot. Now, ball going to be put in again by the Western Force. No, sorry, my apologies. Eritara Inari has the scrum feed here for the Hurricanes. That completely changes this dynamic, because now they've got an attacking scrum inside of the opposition 22. It's holding extremely strong. Big push there from the Canes. Was that a penalty advantage from Damon Murphy? Once again, kind of half put his arm up and then put it back down. 10 metres out from the line. Riley Higgins. Cross to Raymond Tupu. Likelihood of a Canes droppy attempt. If they've got a penalty advantage, they'll consider it. I don't think they will otherwise, though. I don't think it's worth the risk. Definitely not when they're attacking from 15 metres out from the opposition line. Eritara Inari going across there. And of course, if it comes off and you get it, it's perfect. But if you miss it, then you've blown your golden opportunity where they are on the field. Eritara Inari again goes across to Riley Higgins, who is chopped down at the kneecaps. Eritara Inari again will go back to the right-hand side. Big run from Delaney. Looking for the turnover. It's Hamish Stewart. He's lost his footing as well. Peter Larkai. Oh, almost accidentally set up for a rolling maul there. Great commentary, says Corey. Thank you very much. We're up to 8.5 minutes of this extra time period. Neither of these sides willing to budge here. Eritara Inari. Ball scrambles out the side. Proctor starts to drive his legs. 10 metres out. Eritara Inari tries to flick pass. Wasn't deliberately knocked down by the Force, or was it just backwards? I think it might have been backwards, but now 5 metres out from the line for the Hurricanes. That man's doing a headstand. Braden Yossi round the side. Looking for the turnover there was the Western Force, unable to get it. Still no penalty advantage. 10 minutes total, correct. I believe they still get that little bit of extra time though, as in like what you see for 80 and 40 minutes. So once there is a stoppage after 10, I believe it stops. If not, then the Hurricanes only have 35 seconds to be able to score this try, but they are 3 metres out from the line. Passed across. What was Ruben Love doing? He fell asleep. He was sitting there thinking the forwards were going to go for it. And it's almost a steal again. 20 seconds remaining. Is it going to be the full-time siren straight after that, or do we still get that little bit more time? 10 seconds left. Eritara Inari goes across to Caleb Delaney. They have to go pocket here if it was going to be ending at 10 minutes. So I assume they've still got the remaining time. There is the siren. The time has expired, but they will continue with the attack. Back into the pocket now. Ruben Love with the strike. And he's missed it. He's hit the post. It's bounced off, and this game will be a draw, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that is certainly something you don't expect to see. An extra time period actually reaching its full time. Both sides attempting drop kicks. Both sides missing. Great call once again. Amish says, Suds Ray, no way. What a finish, says Corey. I just wonder if maybe the Hurricanes rushed that. They heard the full-time siren. They thought they had to go for it and just hits the outside edge of the post to miss. And oh, way, what a finish. Great stuff, says Stuart Moore. Great call once again. And yeah, we've got another call in 10 minutes' time. Match between Benetton and the Lions. So anyone who is new to the channel, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But we see the frustration from the coach throwing his walkie-talkie down on the ground. He was not happy with that one. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. This game ends in a 17-17 draw. Both sides, I believe, received 2 points, which will help them a little bit. But, of course, both teams would have much preferred to get themselves the victory. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. I will quickly have to set up that next live stream. Then we will be straight back into all of the action.